I've played Homeworld 3 a lot, and these are 8 things I wish I knew sooner, with the best tips saved for last. Just to let you know, this is a part of my sponsored series on Homeworld 3. Thanks a bunch to Gearbox for giving me money to talk about a game I've honestly been really enjoying. I am biased, but I've been enjoying it. You can play it today by using my link in the description on Steam or the Epic Game Stores, but you're only allowed to if you're a nerd. Normies, stay out. Just kidding. The mothership has a lot of health and it can do a lot of things. It can attack enemy ships. It can salvage items, repair friendly ships, research and build. It's basically a city on wheels or jets. Plus it has a lot of guns on the sides and on the bottom, so it can kind of like broadside ships if you want to like flip it over and rotate it. It can do a lot of things, and it serves as a great hub for all of the spokes of your battle or whatever else is going on. If you send it into battle, make sure that you have a lot of units guarding it, or at least that you just know what you're doing so it doesn't get caught up by some huge carrier unit that starts destroying it or something like that. Also, try not to fly through a ship like they do in the campaign. Number 2 is selectively healing damaged units. In case you didn't notice, or if you've never seen it before, if you select all of your military units, you can also select all of the damaged ones by using this button right here. Sometimes you will lose ships, and that's okay. It's not worth it always to try to salvage every ship, but if your mothership's around, you can have a lot of your ships still out there and fighting or protecting your mothership or whatever, and then just select the damaged ones to just heal them really quick. Quick and easy way just to make sure that you're not losing more units than you need to. You can queue up a lot of movements for basically every action. If you take your army, you can queue up their movements so that you don't need to literally babysit them the whole time while they're navigating around the terrain or moving through a tunnel or whatever. You can even have them do more complicated queued up movements, like if you want to tell a fleet to attack this army first and then attack this army second, you can totally do that. It's really useful and you should take advantage of it. Know which formations to use when. For just like general purposes of I'm going to select all of my units and move them around to go fight somewhere, there's a couple of really good ones. The circle one is especially good if you just want a general formation to use that does a lot of damage, especially to bigger ships. The X and the Delta are like decent middle grounds. If you're managing a lot of recon and interceptor ships, you probably want to use a formation like the claw formation. I find it's really good for concentrating firepower, but still letting you be pretty maneuverable too. Also, as a bonus tip, I never change this from neutral. I don't know why you would ever want to put it on passive or aggressive. Number 5 is how important ship type countering is. When I started playing Homeworld 3, I started just sending in all of my units to attack everything all at once, and the game AI actually does a pretty decent job of having your smaller ships attacking their smaller forces, like recon ships attacking their recon ships. But obviously it's not always great at it. So if you're fighting a larger capital type ship, make sure that you have some heavier ship types to really take them on. It can really make clearing out those bigger ships a lot easier, especially during the campaign when like a lot of them awkwardly spawn around corners and stuff. Unit groups. Unit groups are super useful for a lot of reasons. Something I like to do is I like to have my mothership in its own control group, and then I like to have my resource controllers also in their own unit. What this lets you do is select the mothership to do any basic commands you want it to do really quickly. If you just want to send it somewhere and you have a lot of units guarding it, they'll all start to head over there really quickly. I also like to have my resource ships in their own control group too, because from there it's really easy to press 2 and then to press H to tell them to go harvest more resources. Just doing this a few times during each battle when you remember to can really help you get a lot more resources than you would otherwise, because honestly sometimes once they're done harvesting you can sort of just forget about them. So that's a good way to make sure that they're always harvesting stuff without you having to micro them too hard. You can also split up your units into custom unit groups for whatever other purposes you want to. If you want to have a task force to protect your resource ships, you can do that. Even if you want to nest your control units into other control units, you can do that too. Although you do normally build more ships throughout the course of the battle, so it's not always like the most helpful thing ever when you have new ships to add to it. Can get a little bit micro-y. If you ever need to clear out all of your custom unit groups, you can press Control-Shift-hyphen by default, and that'll just get rid of all of your unit groups so that if you have them all mixed up or whatever, you can just make new ones. Number 7 is learning how to use the environment. Something really important in Homeworld 3 is that for capital ships and for a lot of other ships in Homeworld 3, if you ambush them and attack them from the side or from a flank, you do something like 20 to 30% more damage for every point of damage that you take off of their health. So if you have a whole fleet that can ambush one of their ships, you can do a lot more damage to them really quickly just by sort of skirting around the environment, looking for whatever opportunities there might be around there. Just make sure that you don't get ambushed by them too. Number 8 is that you can press and hold space to skip the cutscenes. I am being paid by them to make these videos, but the story can be a little bit clunky, so if you don't really care too much about the cutscenes but you still want to play the campaign, you can just hold down space or whatever your skip button is to skip the cutscenes, if you want to. Again, this series was sponsored by Gearbox and Homeworld 3. Play it today using my link in the description below. You can buy it on the Steam store or the Epic Games Store. In the next video, we'll cover a more advanced general tutorial. Check out the playlist if you want to see all of the videos in this series.